What if the key to finding some real inner peace wasn't about piling on new habits or affirmations, but actually just letting go of one simple thing? Today, we're diving into the core idea from Joseph Nguyen's fantastic book, Don't Believe Everything You Think. And honestly, it might just completely change how you relate to your own mind. So let's get right into it. Have you ever felt like you're just trapped by your own mind? Like it's this runaway train of worries, anxieties, and endless what ifs? If you've nodded yes to that, you are definitely not alone. That feeling of being stuck in a loop of overthinking is something almost all of us go through, and it's the exact thing we're going to unpack today. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to expose the overthinking trap for what it really is. Then we'll pinpoint the actual source of our suffering, and trust me, it might surprise you. From there, we'll get into the single most freeing idea in the whole book, which leads us to the incredible power of awareness. And to finish up, we'll give you a simple toolkit to put all of this into practice. Okay, first up, let's talk about the overthinking trap. We usually think of our minds as our greatest asset, right? But sometimes it can seriously feel like our worst enemy, locking us into this cycle of negative thoughts that we just can't seem to shake. You see, overthinking isn't just, thinking a lot. It's a way more destructive pattern. It's that nonstop mental chatter that just fuels our stress and anxiety. It's that little voice that tries to convince us that all this negativity, well, that's just who we are. And maybe the sneakiest part, it's a master at inventing problems that aren't even real, literally creating suffering out of thin air. So, if our own overthinking is creating this suffering out of nowhere, what's the real source of it all? This is where we need a pretty radical shift in how we look at things, because the answer is probably not what you've been led to believe. The book makes this really critical distinction between pain and suffering. See, pain, things like loss or failure or disappointment, that's just an inevitable part of being human. But suffering? The book argues that suffering is totally optional. It's that extra layer of misery we pile on top when we grab a negative thought, believe it 100%, and let it define our reality. And this right here, this is the absolute core shift in perspective. We tend to think that a tough project at work or a difficult conversation is what's causing our stress. But it's never the thing itself. It's always the story we tell ourselves about the thing. And that means the power to end our suffering isn't out there in the world. It's right here, inside us, in how we choose to relate to our own thoughts. All right, this all leads us to what might just be the biggest aha moment in the entire book. The incredibly simple but profoundly liberating idea that you are not your thoughts. Just let this one sink in for a second. Thoughts are like clouds passing in the sky. This one little metaphor really holds the key to a whole new kind of freedom. So what does that actually mean for us? Well, it means our thoughts, they're just these temporary little mental events. They pop up and disappear, a lot of the time without any permission from us, and they are not solid facts. But here's the most important part. If your thoughts are the clouds, then you are the sky. You are the vast, quiet, unchanging awareness that's always there, just watching them float by. Here's another great way to look at it. Your mind produces thoughts the same way your lungs produce breath. It's an automatic, totally natural process. I mean, we don't get mad at our lungs for breathing, do we? So why do we get so bent out of shape when our mind is just doing its job? This helps us see thinking not as a problem we have to fix, but just a function we can observe. So, okay, if we're not our thoughts and thinking itself isn't the enemy, what in the world is the solution? It all comes down to cultivating one thing: awareness. It's about making that simple shift from trying to control your mind to just learning how to observe it. I mean, we've all been there, haven't we? Trying to wrestle with a negative thought, trying to force ourselves to just be positive. It's exhausting and it almost never works. The real path to peace isn't about fighting harder. It's about dropping the rope in that mental tug of war and just allowing the thoughts to be there and pass on their own. So what exactly is this awareness we're talking about? It's really just the skill of noticing your thoughts without slapping a label on them. Good, bad, right, wrong. You just see them for what they are: little electrical firings in your brain. And the magic is, the more you practice this kind of detached observation, the less power those negative thoughts have over you. They just lose their grip. Okay, this all sounds fantastic in theory, right? But how do we actually do it when we're in the thick of it? Our last section here is a super simple practical toolkit you can literally start using the second this is over. So here are 4 really practical steps you can try. First, mindfulness. Just pause for a moment and watch your thoughts drift by, like you're watching a movie. Second, question them. When a painful thought pops up, gently ask yourself, is this thought absolutely 100% true? You'd be amazed how often the answer is no. Third, allow your emotions. Instead of fighting a feeling, just let it be there. Resisting it is what keeps it stuck. And fourth, come back to the present. Gently guide your attention back to right here, right now, because it's the only place life is actually happening. Look, if you only take away one single thing from all of this, let it be this right here. You don't need to control your thoughts. You only need to stop believing them. See, freedom isn't about winning some epic war inside your head. It's about realizing you don't even have to show up for the battle in the first place. And that leaves us with one final, pretty profound question. We spend so much of our lives chasing peace, like it's some destination we have to get to. But what if that's all backwards? What if peace is actually your natural state? The quiet, clear sky that's always been there, just waiting for you to notice it behind the passing clouds of thought.